How's it going? This is Joshua with SampleServe, and I have with me Russell Schindler, CEO of SampleServe. Say hi, Russell.
Hey, back again.
Back again. Every Wednesday we do this. This is our SampleServe Masterclass Wednesdays, we like to call it. It's a weekly podcast, I'd like to call it actually, where we bring on experts from the industry and the environmental sampling industry. We bring on current users. We also talk about our platform, Sample ENV, and we show you tips and tricks and new features that are coming out on our platform every week. And today we're going to be showing you about data validation, different types of data accuracy methods that we have built into our platform, and all kinds of ways you can keep track of your workflows, your work processes, and make sure everything's coming in accurately. You know, they say data in that's good equals data out that's good, right?
Yep, and it's making everything, all your data collection bulletproof and actually verifiable. You know,
Right.
kind of the theme we're using is you should trust all your field sampling people out there. You know, you wouldn't hire them if you didn't trust them, right? But you should be able to verify what they're doing as well. So trust but verify.
Yeah. So we're going to start out with just a brief explanation of our Sample ENV platform here. It starts out with your where you can set up projects. We call it the project management tool, and this is a part of the app that is just built for project managers because it's a multi-tenant platform in a sense that it has different types of users with different types of needs, and we address that in different places of the platform. So a project manager can go in and set up their projects. They can add sample locations, add their historical data, and they can plan sampling events and assign samplers to go out in the field. And once that gets planned, they can assign that and push that work scope to the mobile field app. The mobile field app, you can download that work scope. You can go offline, start collecting sample data in the field, collect data digitally in the field, which is really nice, especially doing it offline. You can print sample labels in the field as well. And you can also generate digital chain of custodies in the field. Once all that data goes to the laboratory, it's optional for labs to use our lab app to log in and receive that sample using our free lab login app, as well as access chain of custody is very easy, upload and update their test library for their clients to choose from when they're setting up sampling work scopes, and also upload their lab data easily back to the platform for their client to start generating all kinds of maps, graphs, tables. We have a very comprehensive report generation tool where users can go in and easily, with the click of a couple buttons, they can have out all kinds of isochemical contour maps and box maps and all kinds of tables. And it's
you
really
can export data to other platforms if you want to as well.
Yeah. So it's really easy. So we're going to talk about, different ways that you can keep track of your projects, and one of the easiest ways for especially the drinking water and wastewater facilities that we've generated is customizable reoccurrences. So Russell, give us an explanation on how this works.
So, in the drinking water and wastewater business, it's different than the environmental or the groundwater business in that the frequencies literally occur every day, and sometimes, depending on the size of the frequency, can occur every shift, right? So you got to do it in the first shift, second shift, third shift. And so the sample collections are very repetitive, and you'll have daily schedules, you'll have weekly schedules, you'll have monthly schedules, and quarterly and annually. So they all kind of stack up on top of one another. And so if you're just doing that daily thing, we used to just have it to where you could copy your event and paste it into a new event. So if you're doing quarterly sampling, you would just copy and paste 4 times. Not a big deal. You could change the dates. Well, if you're doing it daily, well, who wants to copy and paste 365 times, right? So we made it in here so you could just go, hey, I want this to occur every day, Monday through Friday, or maybe it's just on Saturdays or something. But so you can just create that repeatable schedule, and then you'd already set up your scope of work, and you'll just kind of repeat that scope of work. And it's very simple to just keep scheduling that in the future. You just do it one time, and then it's going to be there until you stop it. You can also go in and change an individual event. So if you go like, hey, I'm going to change, next Thursday just a slightly, you can go in there and edit that event, and it won't affect other events. Or you
Right.
can make it so that it will affect. You can change it permanently from that point on. So.
Yeah, and this is just one of the many mechanisms we have to make it easy for users to not miss sampling events and save time setting up all their sampling work scopes for every single day. If be it you have a weekly or daily sampling event, if it just automatically shows up, it's kind of a one and done, set it and forget it. Your samplers will always know. All you got to do is open up the Field app, and they'll see the next batches of sampling events that are assigned to them. So it'll always be there, and we also have another mechanism here for missing sampling events or missing delivery of the samples to the laboratory as well. So Russ will go over this part.
So especially like at wastewater treatment plants, right? Bacteria sample on the effluent is very common, because they're discharging their wastewater treatment plant into a surface water somewhere typically. And so they've got to test that constantly to make sure that they're in compliance. Well, with bacteria samples, you don't have, you can't go and go, oh, I missed yesterday's sample, I can just do it today. It's like, no, the whole time just doesn't allow you to kind of hang on to that sample. So we have an alert in there, which is totally customizable, where if, let's say you say, I wanted that sample collected by 9 o'clock in the morning. And if it's not collected by 9, send out a text message to the plant manager and to myself, and then also send an email. It could be either or both. And then the second part of that alert is sometimes, and we've had clients tell us this scenario where they've collected the sample and then they put it in the fridge and somebody else is supposed to pick it up and take it to the lab, and it doesn't get taken to the lab. So it was collected. That alert didn't go off because it was done, but it never made it to the lab for some reason. So you can create a second alert that if it hasn't arrived at the lab by, say, 1 o'clock, it'll send out a second alert for emails, text messages, that kind of thing. So it just is kind of foolproof. Make sure that required sample gets taken and submitted to the laboratory.
Yeah, and I like the way that it covers both scenarios, because there are scenarios where, you would just forget to collect the sample in general. And then there's also that small scenario where you do collect the sample, you put it in a fridge at your facility, and then you just completely forget it. It's never delivered to the laboratory.
Somebody calls in sick or they had to leave early because they got some reason. So those things happen, it's just one of those things, but we kind of help make sure that that the samples aren't, you're not going to get fined or penalized because of some weird scenario.
Right. And this is a small portion of the app, but it can save a drinking water or wastewater facility a bunch of money.
Yeah. Small but important. Sometimes if you're a contract operator of a wastewater treatment plant, you got a multi-million-dollar contract on the line to make sure that you don't forget samples. And this little feature is going to help you save that multi-million-dollar contract.
Oh, for sure. And another option that we have, that this is great for field techs in the field, we have a geofencing feature on the Field app that essentially you can mark a certain distance from a sample location, and if you're further than that distance, it'll tell you and say, hey, you are so and so meters away from the documented location. Please, leave a message why you're collecting a sample this far away from the location.
Which it happens, sometimes you may, it's pouring down rain, you got to walk down a muddy hill. You're like, you know what, I'm just going to go collect the sample and I'll enter it when I get back to the vehicle. And you're going to leave your tablet there. But so there are scenarios where you are going to be outside that range and you can leave an explanation. You can bypass that. But that range is actually customizable by the project manager. If you say, hey, I want them, they're more than 5 meters away, I want this to pop up to give an explanation. Or you can say it could be 50 meters. So that's customizable. But it's some clients really want that in there because it has happened where somebody's just collecting they think they're at a certain location, they click on it and they're collecting the sample and they actually end up collecting the wrong sample from the wrong spot. And this just makes sure that you're at the right spot.
Right. And then another thing for the samplers in the field is customizable data entry validation. We have this set up for multiple clients have this set up. One example I can think of is, a giant project going down in Texas. They're sampling, a couple thousand drinking water facilities down there daily. This is happening every single day. And, one thing that they want is pH to be only allowed values to go in there. And then also they want that allowed value to actually go smaller and say, hey, if it's actually between these two values, we want them to leave a comment, but still be able to collect that data.
Yeah, and the same thing with like residual chlorine. And so you can customize whatever that parameter is and what those, you can 2 sets of guardrails, right? If you're within here, no problem. If you're, outside of these 2 areas on either side, leave a comment. So, and any parameter you want in any ranges, it's all customizable.
Yeah, and this makes it really nice that you can make sure that there's no accidentally fat fingered data entry. You're never gonna have to say, hey, why is the temperature or the pH of this like unfeasible, unreal number? Because you're only going to be able to put in the numbers that are actually real, and it'll tell you. And if you want to, you can have them write a comment as to why it is out of the range. And so this is really customizable and really allows you to control what is entered in the field, as opposed to, if you're using a piece of paper, you can never control what goes written down on a piece of paper.
The best time to validate data is at the time of entry, right? You don't want to be going through your data, a week later and going like, oh, wait a minute, it says pH of 15. Like, that's not real. So
right.
Best to validate it right at the time of entry.
Yeah, and that way you'll never have to go back out there and collect data again.
Yeah.
So another feature we have is optional screen recording. So Russell, give us the story about how this is developing.
So we had a client, then they were doing drinking water sampling, and they unfortunately had an individual who was supposed to do a 5-minute flush and then collect pH, temperature, that kind of stuff after the 5-minute flush is over, and then collect the sample. Well, I happen to be watching the screen recording, which we do for UX, UI, user experience and user interface purposes. And I happen to notice that they started entering pH within the 20 seconds, after they started the 5-minute flush. And so I was like, well, that's not good. Well, that's the problem, is like they were cutting corners, and there's an incentive for them to sample faster. And so we made the client aware of it. And one of the things then also probably the biggest benefit was when we made the sampling technicians aware that we were recording the screen and we're able to watch their SOP compliance, all of a sudden everyone starts, following the SOP to the letter, right? They made sure that the flush was 5 minutes. One of the things we also did is we locked out all the other screens until the 5-minute flush was up. But just the simple fact that everyone's aware that we're able to record the screen and make that available, that is making everyone follow it. The analogy I use, and it's on the screen before this, is it's like police body cams. Whenever you have a police officer wearing a body cam, the police officer actually behaves better and the perpetrators behave better, right? The people they're encountering behave better because everyone knows that everything's being recorded and they'll be held accountable for it later. So just that fact of the act of recording increases SOP compliance, and we've seen it, and it's just a good feature. And then we've already do the screen recording, but we're working on a way to file those recordings so that it's easily available for users who opt into this. It's not mandatory, you got to opt into it, but making it easy for them to pull up that data and review their own screen recordings for their own projects. Mm-hmm. And I don't think most people are going to watch these very often, but again, just the ability to have them so that they can watch them makes everyone kind of follow the SOPs more compliantly.
Right.
Is compliantly a word?
Yeah. You know what? It makes sense right now, so we'll say it is. And this is also great, auditing and drinking water,
Yeah. And so if you do have, there is a movement out there to kind of have sampling technicians certified. And part of that certification process is you got to be audited periodically.
Right.
So this gives the ability to do a virtual audit, right? You don't have to go there and look over their shoulder while they're sampling, which could be expensive, right? You're paying somebody to come and certify you. There's a virtual audit that they could do at any time on any sample. So that is also going to help kind of forward that effort for field technician certification.
Yeah. And our next feature is, it's about capturing data for digital chain of custody. So Russell, tell us about, go over this video. Tell us about, how our digital chain of custody works.
So this is really the cornerstone of our technology. It's our digital chain of custody, which we got a couple of patents on. We go through a 3-part authentication on the user, right? You're going to log in under your username and password. Everyone knows never give up your password, so we know it's you. You're also going to sign your name on the device every time you collect a sample, and you're going to take a selfie. So we have a 3-part authentication on the user. At the same time you collect that sample, we get a date and time stamp and a GPS location. So there's no question about the who, the where, and the when of every sample collected. And we do the same thing on every transfer of custody, right? So here's a guy named Jonathan. He's logged in under his username and password. He signed his name, took the selfie, printed the labels. That date and time is printed on the labels, and the GPS is captured. It kept a record of everything. Then you're able to generate the chain of custody. Everything's documented on each sample, and then this is the documentation you would see on a chain of custody. And we break out each sample that was collected by each individual, and then you're able to take a sample and transfer that custody all the way to the laboratory.
Yeah. And you can transfer it to another person in the field. You can transfer it directly to the laboratory or storage location or something like that. And it all gets documented with, with those same exact parameters, your signature, the timestamp, the GPS location. So we always know, with the selfie even, we always know exactly who and where and when they're doing this, which is,
there's no question. And it's better than paper, right? Because you're not able to write down anytime you want or say where you were and maybe you weren't there. It's documented. It's an immutable database. I can't edit it. So it is, it's better than paper, as I tell people.
Right. Yeah. It's, try to change that. You can't.
Right.
So we're out of time now, but I think we covered everything with our, with our validation, data accuracy, making sure everything is, accurate when you're getting data in from the field. And what's next in our plans, Russell? What do we have going besides this? I think
well, we got a lot of things on our plans. I think after this we're going to probably build out a soil boring logging feature. It's going to have some features that are very interesting. I'm not going to give away any secrets here, but it's going to have some stuff in there that no one's doing, and I think you're going to find very, very interesting.
Yeah, and
really it's going to be simple to use too.
Right, and these features that we're showing off, these are custom built for and asked for by current users. This is what people want in the field, and obviously you can't do a lot of this stuff. You can't do any of this stuff using a paper documentation. And even with form builders or other types of apps, they're not built specifically for this type of workflow. So they're not going to really focus on these type of data validations and customized features that allow you to be more accurate in the field. So that's just one of the benefits that we offer our users. And the main benefit is just being more accurate and saving time. And that's what we really want.
Yeah. Making sure that your data is compliant, accurate, and at the same time it saves you money because you don't have to go back to the office and type it in.
Right. So all right, we're gonna end it there. We'll see you next week. And if this is helpful to anybody, give this a share to anybody that you think this would be helpful to as well. These links remain live, and you can also leave a comment and we can get to that as well. So all right, thank you. See you guys next week.
See you.